welcome to Tome of Uselessness. I'm Devon.
I'm Dan.
And this is supposed to be one of our special mini side episodes, but I fear that it's going to be almost as long as a regular one because I've blown the case wide open. Are you so hyped, Dan?
I'm curious. I know nothing about what you're about to talk about.
Okay, so I watched The Princess Switch and The Princess Switch 2 because I thought, hey, this will be a silly Christmas movie and I can explain the plot to Dan and he'll think it's funny. And it's my favorite thing to tell you about bad movies because you're always in disbelief. But I think I've uncovered a conspiracy theory with Vanessa Hudgens at the center of it. She's tried to take over Netflix.
All right.
Okay.
Well, and so she was in the Christmas Night, which we did last year, right?
Yeah, the night before Christmas.
Night before Christmas, sorry. And at the time, I think we discussed it, she did make some kind of deal with Netflix, right? To produce or to appear in movies?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
I thought we talked about that.
She might be a witch.
Oh, okay, or that too.
So I'm going to do this in two parts. So first, I would like to explain, for some context, the Princess Switch and the Princess Switch 2 switched again.
Sure.
Because I feel like you need to know the plot. You don't for the conspiracy theory, but I would still like to tell you about it because it's very stupid.
Sure. Well, and just from the titles, especially, I'm imagining some kind of parent trap situation.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. And I have no idea who the demographic for these movies are supposed to be. Because they're not interesting enough to be a children's movie or silly enough. There's no Home Alone gags in them or anything like that. But there's no sex in them either. So it's not like they're geared towards women my age, right? There's barely any kissing in them.
Well, and I guess maybe she's going that tween
but
romance angle.
The thing is, I feel like if it was meant for tweens, it would be younger actors. It wouldn't be people in their 20s. It'd be people in their late teens, right? The Princess Diaries. No, wait, is that what it was called? The one with Anne Hathaway.
I don't know.
Where she becomes a princess?
I honestly don't know.
I think it's called The Princess Diary, and then The Princess Diary 2. Yeah, I feel like it would be somebody who is just graduating from high school if it was meant to be for tweens or teenagers. But these are people in their 20s getting married. And I don't just mean the princess Netflix movies. I mean all of these kind of Christmas Hallmark movies.
Right.
So, I don't know. I was just thinking about that, and I'm who is the demographic? Am I the demographic? Is it meant for 35-year-old women?
Yeah, or maybe, and they're trying to, do a nostalgia trip that it was oh, remember when it was young and romance and etc.?
Yeah, but, I don't know if it's just me, but I can't help watching these and being all of you are making poor decisions. But I digress. Let's get into the Princess Switch, starring Vanessa Hudgens. It came out in 2018.
Okay,
yeah. So let me tell you the plot. Stacy is a baker from Chicago. She owns a bakery with her longtime friend, Kevin. Mm-hmm. Kevin has a daughter, Olivia, but Olivia's mom is not in the picture anymore.
Right.
Due to, I don't know. I think they broke up. I don't think she's dead.
Right, okay, yeah.
Stacy has just broken up with her boyfriend of 3 years, Paul, and it'll be the first time she's spending Christmas alone.
Is this a sequel to The Night Before Christmas?
Okay, yeah.
It's the same plot, or the same character start point, let's say.
Well, no, Vanessa in The Night Before was a teacher, wasn't she?
Yes, but still, she had recently broken up. She was single, alone for Christmas.
Yeah. Kevin has off screen before the movie started, sent in a recipe and a picture of Stacy to a televised baking competition in Belgravia, which is a made-up country. And she's been accepted into the competition. And so the movie starts with him presenting the invitation to the baking competition in Belgravia.
Okay, yeah.
She declines, but then immediately leaves her bakery and runs into Paul, who happens to be with his new girlfriend, and they're going to his parents' house for Christmas. So she blurts out that she's going to this baking competition in Belgravia.
Okay, yeah. Show up the X and such.
I guess so. So Stacy, Kevin, and Olivia go to Belgravia. Olivia, and this is only important as a plot device, because it won't be brought up too much more after this, is into ballet. So they get to Belgravia. It's revealed that Stacy is not spontaneous and likes to stick to a regimented schedule.
Sure.
Which they tell you by having a character say that. And then she goes, "No, I'm not." And then the other character goes, "Yes, you are." And then she goes, "I guess so." They go to check out the televised baking competition. It's revealed that Stacy has a nemesis from somewhere. This redheaded lady that's not really in the movie. Or serves any purpose, but they spend a little time with her.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, she dumps coffee on her apron. That's right.
Whoa. That's harsh.
Yeah, well, she does it she fakes it by accident, but we know it's on purpose.
Yeah.
So Stacy goes to clean up, and she bumps into Margaret, the Duchess of Montenero. And Margaret and Stacy look exactly alike.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So Margaret says, "Oh, I'm getting married to Edward, the Prince of Belgravia, in 2 days. And I need you to come look at the wedding cake, but you can't tell anybody because I don't want to insult the royals."
Okay.
So Stacy goes to the castle to meet up with Margaret, and Margaret reveals that she didn't want her to look at the wedding cake. She wants to switch places with her for 2 days because she has never had a normal life.
Right.
That's it. And Stacy's like, "I don't know." And Margaret's like, "I'll give you anything you want." And Stacy's like, "I would like you to give Olivia a scholarship to the ballet program you have in Belgravia."
All right, selfless. It's good.
Yeah. Margaret agrees, so they switch places instantly. Now, the Prince of Belgravia is supposed to be working on a treaty with Spain, but he changed his mind so that he could spend time with his future wife and get to know her.
Oh.
So she was supposed to be unbothered for 2 days and just live in the lap of luxury. So I forgot to mention they got Margaret's confidant, Mrs. Donatelli, to help them.
Sure. Someone's got to be in on the plan.
Yeah, they have an inside man. It's Mrs. Donatelli.
Right.
So Stacy thought she was going to be alone, now has to spend time with Edward.
Right.
The prince.
Right, and does she try to play "Oh, you're not supposed to see me for the wedding" or something along those lines, or it's just crap?
Well, no, they're not that clever.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But she does just constantly make up customs of Montenero to explain why she's doing weird things.
Right.
They go horseback riding, and she goes to get on the horse and flips over it instead and lands on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Well, in Montenero, our horses are smaller."
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And just things like that all the time.
Before you
Um,
continue,
yes.
is the prince a handsome man or just like an average dude?
So in the world of the film, he is treated like a handsome man.
All right.
But I feel like he's about as good looking as like the best looking person who works at a law firm. Does that
Fair
make
enough.
sense?
Sure. No, but I was just kind of curious. So it's not played as in Margaret doesn't want to marry him, and she's like, I'm switching to try to get out of this or something, or it's just like she's just like, no, I just want to chill out for 2 days.
Yeah, she wants to chill out. She's also like, she's not marrying out of love. Her parents are dead. It's kind of a like duty marriage to make sure that Montenegro and Belgravia have like a treaty or I don't know. So that
Yeah,
they're, it's just a marriage of convenience.
yeah, it's a political marriage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as most royal weddings are.
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna tell you Stacy as Margaret's story, and then I'll tell you Margaret as Stacy's story,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So Stacy, pretending to be Margaret, spends 2 days with Edward. There's a ball. Everybody looks like they're dressed in prom dresses from Michael or from David's bridal. Over the 2 days, they fall in love.
Okay.
She makes them help her out with an orphanage. They bring them Christmas presents because they support a charity that supports the orphanage. The charity only pays for like the essentials, so they go out of their way to make sure the kids have a nice Christmas, basically.
Sure. I can visual the scene in my head.
Yeah, it's stupid. Okay, so we're gonna pause that. So while that's going on, Margaret, disguised as Stacy, is doing fun things with Kevin and Olivia.
hmm
Olivia, she's about 10. I don't know if I said that. Kevin's daughter.
Yeah.
So Olivia figures out right away that it's not Stacy, but she really likes Margaret, and she kind of starts pushing Margaret and her dad together.
Right.
Margaret and Kevin, the night before they're supposed to switch back, watch a movie together, and then they kiss. Kevin's all, and then she says, "Oh, we have to forget this ever happened to Kevin," which is kind of confusing to him because it's his longtime friend who all of a sudden he's romantically attracted to, and then they kiss, and then she says no.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then they switch back.
Oh, so they do go back. They go through with the switchback. Okay.
Yes. And as they are switching back, okay, I forgot to mention this earlier, and I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Edward's father suspects that Margaret, there's something wrong with her when Stacy's pretending to be Margaret.
Sure.
So he asks his butler, Frank, who everybody shits on the whole movie, to like keep an eye on her. And when they go to switch back, Frank gets photographs of the two identical women standing together.
Right.
So Frank takes the pictures. He means to give them to the king, but the queen intercepts them. She figures out what's going on. She figures out off screen that the other woman is one of the bakers in the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, they all have breakfast together, and she asks Margaret and Edward to take her place handing out the ribbons as a prize at the baking competition. So,
and this is real Margaret she's talking to?
Yes.
Okay.
So real Margaret realizes the game is up.
Yeah.
So she takes Edward aside and off camera explains what happened.
I like how this is all happening off camera.
I know, right?
And this is basically you making this up that it happened off camera.
Yeah, well, we can surmise that it happened, that's what the conversation was.
Yeah, exactly.
So Stacy and Kevin go to the baking competition. It turns out that in the middle of the night, Stacy's red-haired competitor that poured coffee on her,
Mm-hmm.
cut the cord to her mixer.
Oh gosh.
So you have cooked before, right?
I have.
You've made a cake before.
Yes.
So in general, do you use a mixer when you're making cake?
I mean, if I had one, sure, but if not, you just use your hands.
Right. So they've made the whole cake and decorated most of it, and that's when they figure out that their mixer has had the cord cut.
Wait. So it's irrelevant that it's been cut.
Well, no, because they need to make a puree
Oh, okay.
to go in between the layers of cake, which I'm like, okay.
Sure.
And that's the only thing she's needed the mixer for. Not for the icing, not for the cakes, but for the puree to go in between.
Okay.
So she makes the puree by hand. The judges judge it and they say, you have the best cake, except that your puree is a little bit grainy. I wish that you had used a mixer to make it.
Right.
Anyways, they win first place.
Oh, all that tension.
For nothing!
Yeah.
They win first place, and then Edward and Margaret show up to give the medals. There's a little bit of shenanigans, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
Of Stacy trying to get away and Kevin being like, no, this is your moment.
Right.
They get the medals. Kevin realizes that Stacy has a lookalike and it's Margaret. And so the four of them go backstage. Basically, Edward to Stacy is like, you're a princess at heart. I don't care that you're not royalty. I want to marry you. We're in love now. It's been 2 days, but we're in love. And I think you'd make an excellent queen, even though I don't know anything about you. Margaret basically says the same thing to Kevin.
Right.
And that's how it, and then it ends with Stacy and Edward getting married. And she throws the bouquet, and Margaret catches it, and Kevin's like, do you have any New Year's plans? And she's like, no. And then he's like, well, you better hold on to that bouquet, and then credits.
I did want to ask, so when they do the switch back, is there like a scene with Kevin and Stacy and he's like, what's up kind of a thing? Like, hey, we kissed last night or something, or no?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the competition, he goes, hey, Stacy, about last night. And she's like, I just want to focus on the competition, Kevin. And
Right.
He's like, yeah, that's cool. That's it.
Okay.
That's the whole conversation.
Obviously not, but there was no like the daughter being like, hey, that wasn't Stacy, you idiot.
No, because they just tell him backstage.
No, but I mean previous to that.
Oh, there wasn't enough time.
Oh, okay.
There was literally like the night before they kissed, and the next day they were in the competition.
Yeah, but I'm sure he would have seen his daughter between then and that.
Yeah, but she's keeping the secret for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
He wasn't really sad about it. He was just like dum da dum dum.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was much more handsome than the Duke, or than the King Prince.
The Prince guy. Yeah.
Yeah, the friend guy was more handsome.
Right.
So that was the princess switch.
I mean, it sounds high quality.
The most high quality. And apparently, that was not enough for people because they made a second one.
It got a lot of streams, and Netflix is like, do it.
Yes. Well, it was filmed in Romania, and the cast is fairly small. I feel like they did it for pretty cheap, and they probably got a lot of people streaming it. So,
yeah, sure.
Give the people what they want. There's no actors that I recognized in it aside from Vanessa Hudgens.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I looked up a couple of them. Most of them just do that kind of Hallmark movie anyways, so there you go.
Sure.
Are you ready for the sequel?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, It was such a roller coaster through this first one here. Let's do
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have any questions about the first one?
No, it all sounds pretty standard stuff. I mean, just like you said, it's comical.
Yeah, like all the information we get from this kind of movie is because people tell us, right? There's
Right.
no nuance. There's like the prince is like, I feel sad because whatever, right? And then the
Yeah.
other girl's like, oh, well, sometimes I feel that way too, but I don't feel that way with you. And he's like, yeah. And then that's like, oh, now we're in love, right? Like it's not.
Yeah, like I was just thinking back to what you were saying about Stacy being portrayed as like a stick to the schedule, compulsive type or whatever. And it's like you could portray that easily, like show her baking and then someone wants to make a change to the recipe and she's like, no, we got to follow the recipe because, well, in baking you do. And then she's like, we only got 10 minutes for this cake to go because it has to go somewhere. Like you could easily shoot that. And it's not somebody being like, you like to stick to schedule.
In all fairness, I guess I was being a little harsh because they did give her a folded piece of paper that she said was a schedule.
Okay. Okay.
And she's like, we have to stick to the schedule.
Right.
She said that once or twice.
Right. And my question was going to be, but it was explained, like I thought maybe the bake off part was going to happen during that 2 days of the switch. And I was like, wouldn't that cause issues? But it was after. Fine.
Yeah,
So
there
then,
wasn't much hijinks that was related to like, oh, I have to fake my way through this.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounded like, because then now it sounds like the bake off happened on the same day that they were getting married.
That's unclear. In the recap of The Princess Switched Again, they say that they got married a year later,
Oh.
but they don't really show that in the first one. It does seem like they got married on Christmas Day, which is 2 days after they met.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, speaking of the sequel, they got married a year later, apparently.
Okay, so the first one, pretty like standard.
Yeah.
The second one goes a little more off the rails.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what? Both these movies suffer from this, and as does most Hallmark movies. But I think there are like lots of ways to make these movies better.
Well, I think it sounds like from what I'm just kind of projecting here, I imagine this movie was like an hour and a half, hour 45, that it's like to add some of that.
And 42 minutes.
Okay, well, yeah, that's still pretty long, but it's like, yeah, you'd have to rearrange some pieces or add more to it, and it would just increase the runtime, thereby increasing the cost.
Yeah. I just feel like it could have been written better, even if like most of the blocks were the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the first movie, Edward the Prince has no arc, no personality. I couldn't really tell you what he likes or dislikes, aside from Stacy.
Well, and apparently horseback riding.
And horseback riding. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, and at one point they look at ray guns and he's like, I wish I had one of these as a kid.
All right, that's fair.
But like, I don't know. There's ways to make it better. They didn't. That's fine. They probably wrote it like over the weekend, or they like, I don't know, they had a AI write it or something.
They had a chatbot do it.
They had a chatbot do it, yeah. Okay, let's get into Princess Switched Again. At the beginning of this movie, we find out that Stacy and Edward are still married.
Mm-hmm.
But Margaret and Kevin have broken up.
Oh.
Margaret, they broke up about 6 months ago. It's been 2 years. They broke up 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they broke up around the time that Margaret found out that she was going to be Queen of Montenegro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not the real Montenegro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she found that out because the king died, the next person in line abdicated, and she was the person in line after that.
Right.
So she's having her coronation on Christmas Day in Montenegro. It opens with Stacy and Edward in Belgravia, and we find out that they've both been very busy with work. She's got princess duties, he's got prince duties.
Right.
And they haven't had a lot of time for each other. Stacy is worried about Kevin because Olivia's been corresponding with her and he's not been taking the breakup well.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, is Olivia in Belgravia as well at the ballet thing, or is she like in school back home?
They're back in Chicago. The ballet thing was like a summer program.
Oh, okay, sure, sorry.
Kevin's running the bakery in Chicago.
That's what I was going to ask, is the bakery still going?
It's still going. I don't know how, because their owners just fuck off in the middle of Christmas.
Hey, everyone deserves a vacation.
Yeah, but you'd think it's one of their busier times of the year.
Yeah, they bake their stuff and then they shut down. That's fine.
Well, they seem to have, like, I counted at least 3 other employees.
Oh, there you go. You got employees.
Yeah, so maybe they're fine.
Yeah.
So Stacy goes to Chicago. We find that Kevin has started to adopt a lot of cats, and he's wearing sweatpants, and he hasn't shaved or cut his hair in a while. She convinces Kevin and Olivia to go to the coronation to support Margaret as friends. All of them show up in Montenegro.
Mm-hmm.
Just a side note, for whatever reason, all of the guards in Montenegro look like little toy soldiers. Like, I don't know who picked the costumes for it, but they look like little toy soldiers from the Victorian age.
Sure. I mean, that's how you show you're in a weird other country, Devon.
They even have weird red guardhouses that they stand in at the front door. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, but that's fine. So they get there, they see that the palace is not only not decorated for Christmas, which...
Oh, no.
A sin, obviously. But it's also cut, like all the furniture is covered with dust covers. And Margaret explains that she wants to cancel because she's worried that the country is still in mourning over the loss of their king.
Sure.
And then Edward convinces her with 2 sentences that they should decorate, so they do.
Wait, so Edward is also there?
Yeah, Edward, Stacy, Kevin, and Olivia.
Wow. So the whole crew's back together, and there's 2 Vanessa Hudgenses.
Yes.
Okay.
So Kevin and Margaret, after they've decorated, go to make hot chocolate or hot cocoa, whatever. They start a flour fight. Like, they spill flour everywhere, and then they're throwing at each other because that's what adults do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like, adults who are exes and still raw at each other and haven't had a time to talk since they broke up.
And soon to be queen.
And soon to be queen, yeah. And they're interrupted by her handsome, well, they say he's handsome, but I disagree.
Sorry.
Her handsome chief of staff, whose name I can't remember, and I meant to look up, but I forgot to. So we'll just call him chief of staff.
Sure.
And he interrupts him because he needs to go have a business meeting with her.
Right. Yeah, she's going to be queen.
Yeah. Kevin tries to, so, I don't know, daily business goes about. Stacy remarks to Margaret that her chief of staff seems to want to be romantically involved, and she's like, no. They have a ball, and Margaret's cousin, Fiona, shows up, which is Vanessa Hudgens in a blonde wig.
Wait, so now there's 3 of her?
There's 3 of them, Dad!
Oh, God.
She shows up with her friends, I guess, henchmen, and with one of them a girl and one is a boy that's like clearly very like queer coded.
Right. Sorry, and I guess before we continue, I meant to ask this about the first one. Is there any explanation why there are two Vanessa Hudgenses?
Not a concrete one. They guess that they're like very distant cousins.
Okay, sure. Sorry. So then, is that positive potentially for this Fiona as well? But I was because like say a Parent Trap, like I mentioned earlier, they were like, oh, we were twins, split up, fine.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Or like It Takes Two. Do you remember that movie? Probably not.
No, it doesn't.
Had Christy Alley and Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen in it.
Right.
And they were, again, it was like a rich kid and a poor kid.
Mm.
And they were identical, but they weren't related at all. There was no explanation for it.
Actually, I do think I remember this now.
They just were identical.
The same.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, anyway, continue.
Parent Trap, they're twins, but in this one, they're possibly different relations. Fair
enough. So then Fiona enters the picture with her hench people.
Yes. And we find out that Fiona's like immediate family and estate has no money. Mm-hmm. And it's just Fiona and her hench people who live in her castle. Which is funny because they steal wallets at the ball.
Oh, God.
Because they want to go somewhere tropical for the winter. But then, like, they have, like, at least 8 Christmas trees in their residence and no furniture, but a karaoke machine and, like, disco lights.
Weird.
Yeah, so, okay. So then back to Margaret and Stacy. Margaret is supposed to go on a drive with Kevin, but her chief of staff interrupts because he says there's an emergency.
Right.
She goes with her chief of staff, and the emergency is that he proposes marriage. Because they've known each other for a long time, and he thinks they'd make a good team, and he gives her a sparkly diamond tennis bracelet.
Right.
Margaret tells Stacy what happens. Stacy comes up with a plan that they should switch for a day. Then she can spend the day with Kevin and sort out whether or not she has feelings for him anymore, so that she can decide between Kevin and the chief of staff.
But so she doesn't immediately say no to chief of staff guy. She says, I have to think about it, even though she said no earlier to other Vanessa Hudgens.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct. So the people who know about this plan are Stacy, Margaret, Olivia, Kevin, Mrs. Donatelli, and the butler Frank.
That's a lot of people.
The people who don't know about this plan are Edward, Stacy's husband.
Yeah.
And her reasoning is that the less people who know about it, the better.
But like 6 people know.
I know.
Also, and maybe it wouldn't be a notice thing, but usually you can immediately, maybe it's different. Like usually ring tans, like, because when you wear a wedding ring, you get a tan on there.
Oh, yeah, they switch rings. She has, like, a ring she wears, I guess, on her wedding finger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, that'd be, like, an immediate giveaway.
And also, like, yeah, that's a good point. Well, they explain it away.
There you go. The movie you was thinking.
So, Stacy fakes a headache and gets Olivia to help her to make sure that Edward doesn't check on her.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole time, Edward has been trying to talk to her because he's worried that they're drifting apart and he wants to know how to be a better husband. But she keeps blowing him off. So Kevin and Margaret, who is disguised as Stacy, go to a Christmas themed theme park that has been emptied out. And that's how they choose to spend their one day together.
Okay.
And they build snowmen, which, okay, whatever.
It's fun time. Yeah, it's fun time.
It seems so like, it's like what a 6-year-old would imagine like adults doing.
Also, it doesn't make sense that like she uses clearly her princess or queen-esque power to empty out this park area, and then it's like she's there.
Oh.
It's like why bother with the switcheroo? Like,
she doesn't empty out the park. Kevin asks another princess that they know to empty out the park.
Oh, sorry.
Off camera.
Oh, okay.
And I agree. The plan is stupid.
Okay.
Stacy, dressed as Margaret, runs into Edward. Edward confesses to Stacy, dressed as Margaret, that he is worried that he's drifting apart from his wife and he wants to be a better husband. And then she feels bad.
Sure, as she should.
Yes! Olivia tricks Edward into taking her Christmas shopping and then going out for dinner so that to keep him away from the palace so that he doesn't know what's going on.
Sure, that clever child stuff. I like it.
Yeah. Stacy, dressed as Margaret, does not have any royal duties to fulfill except for going to a Christmas concert at the end of the day, which she goes to. So just so we're clear, Stacy as Margaret, who is married to Edward, is at a Christmas concert pretending to be Margaret.
Yes.
Margaret, who's trying to decide between Kevin and Chief of Staff, is at a weird North Pole theme park.
Yeah.
With Kevin, who knows that she's Margaret and not Stacy, so that they can see whether or not they mesh.
Yeah.
So then, Fiona, Margaret's cousin, has come up with a plan to switch places with Margaret by force at the reception after the concert so that she can trick people into crowning her queen on Christmas Eve so that she can steal money out of the treasury and move to a country without an expedition thing.
Yeah. No. Okay. I got it. Yeah. Standard con person stuff.
Yeah, with her henchmen.
Yeah.
What they end up doing, and this is the part that kind of bugs me a little bit. Not that the whole movie doesn't bug me a little bit.
Just like an extra little bit.
Yeah. But her henchmen separate Mrs. Donatelli from Stacy pretending to be Margaret because she's there to help her in case there's like a question she doesn't know the answer to.
Fair enough, yeah.
At the reception by spilling a drink on her and ushering her to the women's washroom. And like it takes them a long time to clue in who. Well, okay, I'll come back to it in a second. But Fiona's in the washroom. She chloroforms Stacy dressed as Margaret.
Oh, sorry. So they spilled a drink on Stacy, not the old woman.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
To get her to go to the washroom, to separate them.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought they were.
No. Sorry, that was my bad because I was getting ahead of myself.
Right. So yeah, so they get her in the washroom, chloroform, classic.
Yeah. Switch clothes. Fiona, pretending to be Margaret, goes back into the ball or the reception and immediately goes back to the castle. And henchmen tie up Stacy dressed as Margaret and bring her to the basement of their castle.
Right.
Okay. When Fiona dressed as Margaret gets to the castle, Margaret dressed as Stacy meets her in the room. Fiona doesn't realize that it's Margaret dressed as Stacy and pretends to be Margaret and threatens to throw out Stacy. So Stacy leaves, realizing that the Margaret in her room is not Stacy pretending to be Margaret, but Fiona pretending to be Margaret.
Yeah. Plus, I thought you said, like, did she dye her hair or something? Because didn't you say she was blonde?
Oh, yeah, they dyed her hair.
Okay.
Yeah. So then Chief of Staff goes to Fiona dressed as Margaret, figures out that it's not Margaret right away, and even though he's shown no signs of being a bad guy, the whole movie is like, I want in.
Oh, God.
He's like, I will make the coronation happen tonight. This is how you're going to get the money. We're going to make a shell company. You're going to make a charitable donation. You're going to cut me a check. I'll release the funds, and then you can go to wherever you want to do. And I can stay here in the palace, but I'll have more money, and no one will know what happened.
Right. Or is that kind of like a reveal that it's like he was trying to just marry her for money reasons then, or?
Unclear, but he
okay.
does imply that he doesn't have any money.
Okay.
He says he has expensive taste without the means.
Okay.
So, but he doesn't come out right out and say, I was only marrying her for the money.
Right.
At some point in between that, Kevin goes to Fiona dressed as Margaret and is like, let's have dinner. And she's like, we have to break up. I don't love you. This is never going to work. I'm all wrong for you. You should just leave. So without talking to anybody else, he packs up and him and Olivia get in a car to go to the airport.
But wouldn't she know that there was like a switcheroo?
Who?
Olivia.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that Margaret is actually Fiona right now.
Right.
She only knows that Margaret was pretending to be Stacy.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really know what's happened either. Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the first one because it's not really relevant to the plot, but there's like an old man who shows up all the time in the movie at several different points, like in Chicago, in Belgravia, and he's always giving like sage little wisdom tips to the girls.
Love it.
And he is the taxi driver. So he basically stalls them in the taxi, even though he has no idea what's going on. I have a theory that he's Santa, but it's not revealed.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to assume from what you just said. I was like, he's obviously Santa / spirit Christmas guy or whatever.
Yeah, but no one, he doesn't come out and say it, so there's no confirmation, but I'm pretty sure he's Santa.
Yeah, that's what I would also surmise.
So let's get this going.
Yes.
Margaret, dressed as Stacy, goes to Edward and Mrs. Donatelli and Frank and tells them that she doesn't think that the person pretending to be Margaret is Stacy. She thinks it might be Fiona. They talk it through, and Mrs. Donatelli's like, "Oh, I saw her friends at the reception," and that's when they figure out that the friends have taken Stacy. Which, this is the part that I'm kind of like, why wouldn't they wear disguises? Like, it's easy to trace it back to them. Everybody knows who they are. They've been introduced to everyone.
They didn't have the budget for the Mission Impossible masks. You said there's yourself. They're poor.
They could do a fake mustache.
Nah, that's not good enough.
Okay. Margaret, Edward, Mrs. Donatelli, and Frank go to Fiona's castle to rescue Stacy, who has kind of rescued herself a little bit through some Home Alone type hijinks. And at the same time, Fiona, pretending to be Margaret, is headed to the cathedral with Chief of Staff to become crowned queen so that she can do her scheme.
All right, yeah.
They figure out what's going on, and the Scooby Gang goes to the cathedral, stops it right in time. They expose Chief of Staff, They reschedule the coronation for the next day as it was supposed to occur. Fiona lets Margaret know that she told Kevin that he had to go because she knew that Kevin was going to figure out that she wasn't Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
So they all rush to the airport. They grab him just before he has to get on the plane, and they find a random priest, and Margaret and Kevin get married in an airport.
What?
Yeah, they literally ask a priest, like a guy wearing a priest outfit getting coffee, to marry them as he's trying to board for his flight, and he just kind of goes, I now pronounce you man and wife, and runs away.
Away with me.
Yeah. Okay, so then it ends with Margaret's coronation.
Mm-hmm.
And all the couples are paired off and everyone's happy. The end.
Hooray.
Hooray!
But I guess circle back real quick. So when they spent that day together, and did she had just decided, or like, because obviously Kevin's still into her, but was like Margaret like, yeah, I think he's the better way to go, or is it just because, well, chief of staff guy was evil?
Well, they built snowmans together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get that.
You know, the international language of love, snowman building.
Yeah.
I guess that they are in love and meant to be together because they say that they're in love and meant to be together.
Right.
And they built snowmans.
Sure. But I mean, I guess like what I'm trying to think of is that it's like she could be like, okay, stay with me in fake Montenegro, you know, or whatever. I don't know. Just like the random wedding in the airport it doesn't even seem very romantic for this kind of a movie. She could be like, we'll do it after my coronation or something, right? Like.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I guess their gown budget was spent. I don't know what to tell you.
Fair enough.
Yeah, do you have any other questions about that movie? Because after this, we're getting into the conspiracies.
Sure, fair enough. I mean, I guess like, so is there a resolution with Stacy and Edward? Like, does he, when he eventually realizes there was a switch, is he like, oh, I was talking to my wife, not thinking that it wasn't my wife?
Yeah, so he's not mad at all.
Fair.
When he finds her, she's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. And he's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been so overbearing. And then they kiss.
Okay. Because it sounds like the whole movie, he's just trying to be a better husband. And she's like, I got to do this plot.
Yeah, no, totally. If you feel bad for anybody in this movie, it's Edward.
Okay, fair enough.
Because she really does just treat him like an afterthought the whole time.
Well, it just sounds like for no reason he wasn't included in the plan. Because the plan is just so that Kevin and Margaret can spend a day together. So it's just like, hey, we're just going to do a switcheroo here so that they can spend a day together. Don't worry about it. Like,
the only reason that he wasn't included in the plan, which he totally should have been included, was so that he could talk to Margaret, who was actually Stacy, so that Stacy could finally hear what he had to say.
Sure, just for the one scene, essentially.
Yeah, they needed that one scene. Yeah. And also so that he could go tie shopping with Olivia.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, because it just sounds like it would be you just easily include him, and then he'd probably be okay with it because he's like, oh, it's just for a day, cool, and then we'll have our scene afterwards or whatever. Yeah,
basically.
Okay.
And there's also no reason that they needed to switch.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well.
She had no engagements earlier in the day. She could have just gone to the Winter Village with him.
Yeah, and if anyone would ask, just be like, yeah, I'm just spending a day with this dude or whatever.
Right?
They cleared out the park anyway, like, who cares?
It's so stupid.
Because even, like you said, if she didn't say immediately yes to Chief of Staff guy, she could just be like, okay, and then he does, like, I'm just going over here for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, so it's not just me thinking that was very contrived. I can see they could have just done it that way, and then the switch part of the title could have been the Fiona schemes to do the switch.
Yeah, and you know what? If they wanted to kidnap Stacy instead of Margaret, she could have just mistook Stacy for Margaret. They're identical.
Yeah, exactly. Like they see each other. Like she sees her in a hallway walking from a thing after talking to like chief of staff guy, but it was Stacy, not Margaret. And then they're like, "That's her. We've got to get her."
Yeah, the henchmen were like portrayed as stupid, anyways.
Anyway, yeah, because like you said, it like that could have been the switch, and that's interesting. And everyone's relationships could still be the main focus of the movie without them having to switch.
Yep. I think they just like the makeover scene where they switch outfits.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Any other notes about it before I get into Crazy Town?
You didn't mention, when did that one come out?
Well, that came out this year, 2020.
Okay. Because then I was going to say, so are we expecting a Princess Switch 3 situation?
So that's part of my conspiracy.
Alrighty.
Okay, are you ready for this?
Sure.
Do you remember I told you about a Christmas Prince? There was a Christmas Prince, the Royal Wedding, and a Christmas Prince, the Royal Baby.
Yeah, which at the time there wasn't the baby one, and then we theorized or you and I theorized
the one. This
and then it came
true. Deep, Dan.
Yeah. But yes, I remember those movies.
Okay, those movies take place in a fictional place called Aldovia.
Mm-hmm.
And it is established in A Christmas Prince, the Royal Baby, that Aldovia is neighbors with Belgravia.
Ah, nice. We got the cinematic universe.
Yeah, but it gets even better. At Princess Margaret's coronation, Queen Amber and King Richard from Aldovia show up. They're just there for like a fraction of a second.
Nice. And it's the same actors?
Same actors.
Nice.
That means that those take place in the same cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Also, on a side note, in the first movie, A Princess Switch, when Kevin and Margaret watch a movie and then kiss afterwards,
mm-hmm.
the movie that they watch is Netflix A Christmas Prince. Which is apparently Margaret or Stacy's favorite Christmas movie. But that means that it's either a documentary
mm-hmm.
or a movie based on real events.
Yeah.
Okay? So
within the cinematic universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you probably don't remember this from the night before Christmas. Another Vanessa Hudgens movie. Yeah. But when they are decorating her tree, she takes out a wooden ornament that's from the country of Aldovia, which means that Vanessa Hudgens, who is married to a medieval prince, exists in the same universe as the Princess Switch, which means there's another one. And that time travel and magic exists in this universe.
Well, we know that from the time-traveling Santa who's in multiple places at once.
Right?
Well, and that's what I was saying at the beginning, that it sounds like the same starting point. See, because I was theorizing that Vanessa Hudgens then became this other woman. She stopped being a teacher. She became a baker.
No. I believe that there are 4 lookalikes.
Yeah, no, I could see that too.
And so when we'd have the Princess Switch 3, it's going to involve her.
Ah.
Yeah, the Princess Switch 3, they're switching again, and there's another one.
And there's another one.
And there's another one.
And her night guy is there, of course.
Yeah, from the past, how are you going to explain that?
Wait, he did come back to the future, right? Or am I misremembering?
Yeah, he did come back.
Okay, yeah.
Remember, he came back with his horse?
Did he?
Yeah, because
Oh.
they ride off on his horse.
Nice.
So what I'm saying is Vanessa Hudgens is trying to take over Netflix, and she's just going to star in everything.
Why not? I mean, corner this type of film market, do it.
It blows my mind.
I mean, I was gonna say like it makes a lot of sense, of course, that these made up countries would be in the same area, and in the same kind of universe. That I could totally like. I'm like, yeah, why not do that kind of thing and little nods here and there. But that's pretty funny that, yeah, there's four of her basically.
Yeah, so there's like Eldovia and then Belgravia, and then there's a country called Pengalia, which is also next to Belgravia,
Oh, okay.
and that's an Asian country because everybody from that country is Asian,
Mm,
but they speak with British accents, but they write in like characters.
sure.
So I think we're gonna get like a Pengalia movie too.
Nice. Yeah, because I was gonna say even introducing a third Vanessa Hudgens was weird. So it's like,
Yeah, but there was already a third one because The Night Before Christmas came out in 2019, so they introduced a fourth one this year.
that's fair. Yeah,
And yeah, so then I went and watched A Christmas Prince, no, The Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby to confirm this, and that's when I learned that Belgravia was next to Eldovia.
right. And they're all connected.
They're all connected.
What? I mean, that would be interesting, but I don't know if they would do. They're like, why not have them show up for some kind of royal event thing in their made up universe?
I mean, they could just get everyone together.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you got those people, and you got your two Vanessa Hutchinsons, and then you bring in your third one, and because the other one's in jail, I assume.
Yeah, she went to jail, but she didn't get to go to the coronation. She just had police officers with her.
Oh.
So yeah, that was my conspiracy. That's what I was so excited about telling you.
That essentially that there are four of her in the same universe at the same time.
And that also time travel exists and magic exists.
Sure. Well, and I guess my question was going to be from a production film, like how does it look when she's interacting with herself? And I assume like, when it's like, back to the head, it's, a body double situation, but just like, I assume she talks to herself.
Oh yeah, like I mean the effects are fine. It looks like two people, like it doesn't look fake, right?
Right. Okay.
But there's also people on TikTok that can do that.
Sure.
um,
Well, I just mean like, did they put in some effort to make it look decent?
They did. It did look decent.
All right.
Yeah, it looked very decent. And one thing I noticed though is that Vanessa Hudgens in all these movies has a very specific style. Like it's not designer, but not inexpensive. It's kind of like Nordstrom's kind of level. And it's like stylish in a classic way, not really a trendy way. And it made me wonder if she just has her own stylist and that's like a clause that she gets styled by like one person or something.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's the same kind of outfits she wears in The Night Before Christmas as she does in Princess Switch and the Princess Switch too.
Right. Well, and because that's what I was going to say. I remember when we talked about that because she's at the climax/conclusion of the night one. She's wearing like this Asian dress and everyone else is in like Midwestern snow gear.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my my crazy conspiracies and the Vanessa Hudgens cinematic universe.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're gonna have to watch out for potentially, I guess, next year to see if this universe continues.
Oh my God, I hope it does, because now I'm invested.
Well, like we've theorized a sequel to The Night, of course.
Oh wait, sorry, I just got to interrupt you because I had a brainwave.
Yeah.
What if the Princess Switch 3 is that they both have babies and the babies get switched?
Oh God.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, when we talked about Christmas Night, how they would do a sequel to that. So it's like they could be staggered, is what I'm saying. Is next year they could do a sequel to the night one.
What if some magic went sideways and the medieval knight ended up with the princesses from the Princess Switch and thought it was his Vanessa Hudgens and got really confused? Or what if there's an evil version of him that remembers Vanessa but somehow ends up in the Princess Switch universe? What I'm saying is that Netflix should hire me because
Sure.
I'm on to them.
Yeah. Well, and I was just even surprised that they introduced an evil Vanessa Hudgens in the second one, because it's like, she's the protagonist. Why would you have evil version her?
Yeah, it's interesting because in the first one, it's hard to say who the protagonist is between Stacy and Margaret. I would lean more towards Stacy because you start with Stacy.
Yeah.
But Margaret is the one that kind of has to fight for Kevin at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second one, you spend equal time with both of them. Like it's not like there's like a protagonist, because they're both kind of the protagonist, but they're not really working together because they have different goals. I don't know. It's such a fucking weird movie. I just don't know, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It doesn't need like a protagonist in a classic way because it's telling two parallel love stories, supposedly.
Yeah, kind of. Well,
Yeah.
it's a love story because they tell you it's a love story.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my tirade.
Nice. That's some quality films for sure. So would you recommend people watch these movies?
No, because they're not good.
Right.
They're not necessarily bad. They're
Yeah.
not really anything. But you know what? I was thinking about it, and they're not like a story, really. It's more like an antidote, if that makes sense. Like, they're not like movies. They're kind of like silly antidotes. I don't know if that's the right way to frame it, but they're just, there's...
It almost sounds like they're just like a longer version of like an episode of like a soap opera.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah. I mean, at least with the the Christmas Prince trilogy,
Yeah.
there's some like intrigue involved, and there's usually like a side story that's like a mystery almost with all three of them. But with the Princess Switch, it's much more straightforward in that the movie is about people who switch places and fall in love in 2 days because they say they do.
Sure. I mean, that's a fun classic concept, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't think they're that good. You should totally watch them though, Dad.
Oh, yes, yes. I will rush out to put it on right now.
Now I have to go watch Spring Breakers to see if Vanessa Hudgens in that is in the same universe.
She is a criminal, I imagine, in that one.
Yep, yeah. I somehow doubt that they're related though.
Yeah. No, but I was gonna say, I guess they could be good, like just on the background because they're inoffensive movie.
I feel like if you were looking for a movie to watch with like, I don't know, like a bunch of different ages of women, and you didn't want to watch a traditional Christmas movie, like you wanted to watch something new, then that I guess is okay. There's a reason they're not in theaters. They're definitely like something you'd see on the women's channel.
Sure. Well,
Like
I think like
on W or whatever, right?
yeah. Well, and like we talked about as well, like it seems, well, obviously COVID, but a lot of these types of movies have gone away from being in the theaters to being on streaming services.
Yeah, that's true. I think that these would not be in theaters even if theaters were open.
Yeah, no, I get that sense as well. And that's fine. Not everything, it's not to say that, streaming services don't put out some quality movies.
Yeah, they're just like, they're inexpensive, like easy, probably quick movies to make that they know will make bank.
Yeah, or just like you say, it's like, someone wants to watch it, it's an hour and 40 minutes of just like an okay time, and then you just move on with your day, right? You're like, hey, wasn't that fun? Vanessa Hudgens switching places with herself. Cool.
Yeah, basically. It's like a movie that you would, like, if you were home from work on a Thursday at 3 p.m. and there was nothing else on TV, you might put it on in the background.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's something I didn't ask as well, but it's like, it's sometimes in these kind of movies, like, are her personalities portrayed as wildly different? Like, obviously one's royalty and one's a working class woman, but it's like, are they so wildly different that it's like, oh my God, it's so easy to tell? Or it's like, no, it's just she's the same woman.
So in the first one, they tried to do that a little bit by being like, the Duchess is spontaneous and Stacy is follows a strict schedule.
Right, like we talked about, yeah.
But they do it by just saying it, not by like showing it at all. Except, I guess Margaret does rip up the piece of paper that is supposedly the schedule at one point.
Right, okay, yeah.
Not in like an impassioned way, just like, let's do whatever we want. Rip.
Yeah.
In the second one, they completely abandoned that.
Well, that's fair. It's 2 years later. She's changed.
Yeah, they don't really have any personality in the second one, except for Fiona. Fiona is just like a hot mess, and she's like, look at me, I'm a hot mess.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I almost wish they had done something like, oh, the Duchess is really shy and Stacy's really outgoing.
Yeah.
Like, that would have made sense, but no, they just kind of did, like, the bare minimum.
Excellent.
Vanessa Hudgens can just, like, read lines. She doesn't even have to memorize them. They might have them on cue cards or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's working, at least.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what matters most at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we were entertained and talking about it, hopefully entertaining other people.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think I'll wrap up unless you had any other questions about the cinematic masterpiece that is The Princess Switch or The Princess Switch 2 Switched Again.
I've had just as good a time, like I said, talking about it for nearly the same length as one of those movies that I don't have to watch now.
You're welcome.
Pretty much.
Well, if you like this podcast, you can share it with your friends because that helps us grow. I think that's the thing people say. You can also rate and review us on whatever. You can follow us on social media at Tome of Uselessness. Visit the website, tomeofuselessness.com. Email us with your favorite bad holiday movies, tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, stay safe and thanks for listening.